Jimmy Armijo Grover here with Gallatin River Guides in Big Sky, Montana, and today we're tying the Trout Crack pattern. Very effective pattern on our local rivers, especially here on the Gallatin and the Yellowstone rivers, and is also proven to be quite successful on the Madison. We really like it when Caddis are around, which is made mid-August more or less, and also when rivers are high in off color. What we have here is a Dairiki 135 size 16 scud pupa hook. Good size range for this fly is 14 to 16. And then to match that hook we have a gold 7/64 bead and tying with a 6/0 red thread, in this case Vivus. And you see I have my thread started right behind the bead there, and then I've prepared a few peacock curls here. I'm going to just chop off the tips here, which are the most fragile, and then I'm going to tie these in right behind the bead on top of the hook here, and then I'm going to move my thread to the rear of the hook. And it's always hard to know where exactly to stop for proportions on these curved shanked hooks. I think the barb is not far enough, so I go kind of somewhere in between the barb of the hook and the very rear of the bend. So as you can see there, and then also I like to flare out those fibers. It makes for a nice fuller look when you tie those forward. Next I'm going to tie in a small gold copper wire, and we'll tie that in on the near side here. This is mostly for added durability. Peacock curl is very fragile. We're going to counter wrap this for that, but it will add a little bit of gold flash to the body as well. And then once that's secure and your thread is up at the bead, we're going to grab our peacock curl, and then we're going to just gently wrap these forward, one wrap right in front of the other, creating a nice full body. All the way up to the bead. We'll tie that off right there. Do that a couple times. And then trim off the excess. Next step is to wrap the copper wire. We're going to, like I said, we're going to counter wrap that. So instead of going up and over, which we tie, that's how we tie in most of our materials, we're going to go down and under. And we'll probably get about 5 wraps, evenly spaced wraps of this wire as we move through this body. And then I like to do an extra wrap right at the bead, which helps with durability, and kind of pull snugly on that copper wire as you tie that off behind the bead so you don't have any slack. And then I like to kind of helicopter that copper wire until it fatigues and breaks. The faster you move, the more quickly it breaks. There we go. Next we have Hungarian Partridge. This skin won't show very well in the camera here, but there's a full skin. And we're grabbing this feather as kind of in the back of the neck, some of the smaller fibers here. But more importantly, you need to select a feather with the right length of fibers. And for soft hackles, I don't like my fibers to extend much past the very rear of the hook. So if I were to set this here at the bead, you see those fibers do extend past the rear of the hook, but not by much. So that's a good size for this. Unfortunately, there aren't a lot of those smaller usable feathers on a Hungarian partridge skin, so sometimes you need a lot of skins to tie a lot of flies. And then I've also prepared this feather by grabbing the very tip of it and then preening the rest of the fibers back. And I'm going to tie this in right behind the bead, right at that junction. And I want the con convex side of the feather, or the darker side of the feather, to face forward towards the rear of the fly. A lot of ways to tie in, or to tie soft hackles. This is just one of many methods. We could also trim off all of these fibers on this side to make a much cleaner look. This fly is kind of a little on the ragged end, so it's not important that it looks really pretty, in my opinion. Fish certainly don't mind. Next step is I'm going to preen those fibers so they're all facing towards the rear of the fly. Also, I have those butt ends that are from the tip there, or the tip ends. I'm going to trim those off. And once I have all those fibers facing the rear of the fly, I'm just going to take about 1 to 1.5 wraps with this Hungarian partridge until you run out of usable fibers. You could certainly build in some of that fuzz if you want. That wouldn't hurt the fly at all, but it does start to get pretty big at that point. Tie that off. Get a couple really good wraps so that doesn't unravel on us, and then trim off the butt end. And then last important step is to just build a nice hot spot or red collar. On the local pattern, it tends to be pretty significant, that red band. So don't be afraid to build that up. And then we'll whip finish. And this fly can be fished a lot of different ways. It can be dead drifted, but it's pretty common to fish this either under a dry fly or under another heavier nymph and swung through riffles where caddis might be looking for hatching caddis pupa moving around, etc. That's it. Thanks for watching.